Good morning, dear. Today we will talk about the bisector of an angle. First of all, what's the definition of a bisector? It's a semi-line. It means that it's limited from one side but unlimited from the other, that divides the angle into two equal adjacent angles. Here, for example, we have angle AOB. We say that OC is the bisector of AOB since given that AOC equals to COB. This semiline OC cuts the angle AOB into two equal adjacent angles, and that's why we say that OC is the bisector of AOB. Since we said that OC is the bisector of angle AOB, then each one of these angles, AOC and COB, okay, they are equal, but to find their measure, I have to divide the angle AOB over 2. For example, if AOB equal to 60 degree and OC is the bisector, so it divides the angle into two equal adjacent angles, then AOC equals to COB equal to 30 degrees, since the half of 60 is 30. The bisector of an angle is an axis of symmetry of this angle. What are the properties? The direct property says that any point on the bisector of an angle is equidistant to the sides of this angle. Equidistant means having the same distance. Here, for example, AD is the bisector of angle CAB. How did I know that? Since given that CAD equals to DAB, they put the same sign on both angles, which means that these angles are equal, two adjacent angles are equal. This make me know that AD is the bisector of CAB. D is a point that belongs to the bisector, and DC is perpendicular to AC, and DB is perpendicular to AB, so I can conclude that DC equals to DB. That's what we mean by any point on the bisector. D could be anywhere here, but it should be a point that belongs to the bisector. Is equidistant means having the same distance from the two sides. Okay, that's how we said that DC equals to DB. The reciprocal property says that any point equidistant to the two sides of an angle belongs to the bisector of this angle. So, if DC is perpendicular to AC and DB perpendicular to AB, and we know that DC equals to DB, this means that D is equidistant from C and B, which means that D belongs to the bisector of the angle BAC. How to construct a bisector? The first method is using a protractor and a ruler. For example, draw the bisector OC of the angle AOB. This is our angle AOB. Its measure is 70 degrees. Keep in your mind that while we measure an angle, I have to start from the zero. Here 0, not from 180, 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. The first step is to measure the angle using a protractor. AOB equal to 70 degree. Then the second step is we think that the bisector cuts the angle into two equal adjacent angles, so I have to divide it by 2. 70 divided by 2 equal to 35 degrees. So we draw the semiline OC such that AOC or BOC equal to 35 degrees. Here I keep the protractor at 0 on the semiline OA and count 10, 20, 30, and 35 is in the middle between 30 and 40. That's where I can plot here a point, and join it to the vertex O, and I can say that this semiline is the bisector of angle AOB. So each one of these angles should be half of the original angle. The original angle is 70, half of 70 is 35. Then AOC equal to COB equal to 35 degrees. Another way to draw a bisector is using a compass. Here, for example, AOB, I don't know its measure. I can use my compass. How? Place the compass on the vertex O, and then we draw an arc of center O and of any radius that cuts the side of angles. At here, this point I name it C, and the another arc drawn on OB, I will name it here D. Keep in your mind that the opening of the bisector should not change. Then draw an arc of same radius from C and D. Here I put one hand of the compass on C, draw an arc. Similarly, I put it on D and draw another arc. Then the point of intersection of these two arcs, here I named it E. We join it to the vertex O and we get the semiline OE, which is the bisector of AOB. OE is the bisector, then AOE equals to EOB, since the bisector cuts the angle into two equal adjacent angles. Thank you for your attention.